Good evening. I would like to give a warm welcome to our big mining and metallurgical family, all the hardworking men and women that make up this incredible industry in this room, and to the colleagues watching us via live stream from around the world. We also greet as a guest the president of the Institute of Mining Engineering of Peru, Mr. Victor Kovitz. We also like to welcome the representative of our sponsors, the Canadian Embassy in Chile, and the Chilean-German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, members of the boards of directors from the Chilean Institute of Mining Engineering, the champions of the technical committee, and the board of Symposium of Mining Engineering from the Santiago de Chile University. We are also like to greet the members of the co-organizing societies of Copper Conference who are joining us in this transmission. The Minerals, Metals, and Metals Society from USA, the Society of Mining, Metallurgy, and Exploration from USA, the Non-Ferrous Metals Society of China, the Southern American Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, the Mining and Materials Processing Institute of Japan, the Metallurgy and Materials Society from Canada, the Society of Metallurgists and Miners from Germany. We are here today for the launching of the ceremony of Copper 2022 conference. My name is Carolina Toro, your host today, and I'm really happy to be here in your presence for this fantastic event. I'm a member of this family too. I work for Antofagasta Minerals as a leader of Autonomous and IROC for Centinela mine site. I'm a member of the Chilean Institute of Mining Engineering. I'm also a part of the technical committee of the conference. This launch is taking place from the Casa Piedra Event Center in Santiago, Chile, which next year we will host the Copper 2022. We want to begin this ceremony with an opening message by Mr. Juan Rayo, President of the Chilean Institute of Mining Engineering. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Instituto de Geológica de Chile, and of course, our new guest, the Peruvian Mining Institute. To all of you, my keenest regard and welcome to the event launch for Copper 2022. Copper market and copper mining industry have been affected by various crises worldwide. The most relevant are the global warming and the COVID-19 pandemic. Surprisingly, in both cases, the copper is more a solution than a problem, because copper could help to reduce CO2 emissions by the strong utilization in renewable energies, and with the high price of today, we could help to the economies of underdeveloped countries, Chile, Peru, and others, affected by the COVID that needs urgently more exportation to compensate highly social costs. We are happy to take the first step for the conference Copper 2022, considering that we agreed the place to do the conference and we have received until today close to 100 abstracts. We are optimistic that we will maintain the records of the previous Copper conference, and our chairman commented about that. Additionally, we want to present one of the members of our institute, Mr. Juan Carlos Guajardo, expert in metal market and mining, who will give an excellent overview of the status of the copper in the world, today and the future. The name is Cuba Descubro. Thank you very much, and enjoy the meeting as well as the future Copper 2022 conference to be done in Santiago in November next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rayo, for those warm words. Please, Mr. Ivan Arregada.
Hello and welcome to everybody to Copper 2022. Today we're giving the formal kickoff to Copper 2022. The Copper Conference, which is sponsored by the most prestigious and leading mining and metallurgy professional societies from many countries. Engineers, scientists, copper fabricators, and users from a wide range of different international locations will meet at this conference, exchanging ideas, scientific innovation, and development. As usual, we aim to be able to cover all aspects of the copper value chain during the various sessions of the conference. For me personally, it is a great honor to have the responsibility to chair the conference, especially at a time when the copper industry is in a unique position, facing the great opportunity of being a key enabler to address the very pressing challenges of climate change. As we know, copper is essential in the development of clean technologies that help fight climate change, clean energy and clean transport being two clear examples of this. This means we have a great opportunity, as well as the responsibility, to supply the world with the necessary copper and other metals that will allow us to move towards a low-carbon economy and contribute to the improved well-being of millions of people. But we must do this transforming the way we mine, process, transport, market, and recycle minerals and metals to ensure that we do it safely and sustainably, in a way that is fully responsive to the demands for reducing water, emissions, and other key footprints and impacts. Some call this green mining. To achieve this, innovation and the use of technology are available as never before for our human capabilities to be put to work, generating new ideas and concepts. I do wish for this conference to be an opportunity to stretch our technical thinking on these many crucial challenges so that we can advance the science and solutions for the mining and metals challenges that we face. Regarding the event of the conference itself, I would also like to acknowledge that holding Copper 22 poses us and the conference organizers with unique challenges given the pandemic of COVID-19 that we have and that we continue to experience. I wish that by next year, given access to vaccination, the world will be a safer place. This should be an added impulse to a successful conference. This is a great opportunity to demonstrate how we can adapt to a new way of conferencing and working. Finally, my thanks and a very special recognition to the Institute of Mining Engineers of Chile, who have invited me to participate in this great event and for the great work they are doing in making this a success. Thank you and welcome. Have a great conference.
Thank you, Mr. Arregada, for those wise words. Okay. Now, we will now hear from the Executive Committee of Copper Conference. This committee is composed of chairmen from the Vancouver 2019 Copper Conference, organized by MedSociety, and the upcoming 2025 Copper Conference to be organized by TMS and SME in the United States. To begin, the chairman of the Copper 2019 conference, Mr. Joel Kapusta of MedSociety, will address you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank you, yourself, and the organizing committee for welcoming me and giving me the chance to talk. And as a vice chairman, I would like to look to the past. And I'd like to start with looking at the legacy, my vision of a legacy of the International Copper Conference. And in particular, what is my view? First, I believe it's the world's foremost technical forum on copper. And my bookshelf, not as big as Michael Motz, but this shows that I do enjoy the proceedings all the way back to Copper 95 in Chile. I believe the Copper Conference is a joint effort of professional societies from almost all continents. I believe it's a gathering of friends and colleagues with social events celebrating the pioneers and leaders of the copper community. For me, technical forum, collaboration, friendship, and celebration are the words that represent the Copper Conference in my mind. And I'd like to focus today on the collaboration, friendship, and celebration aspect. And again, as a past chairman of the conference, I'll take the chance to look backward and explain the collaboration that led us to 8 societies as shown on the side by their logos as co-organizers of the conference. It goes back to the first conference in '87 in Chile with the Instituto de Ingenieros de Minas de Chile and the Metallurgical Society of CIM in Canada organizing the conference. In '91, with a conference in Ottawa, TMS joined the group of organizers, and that remained until '95 in Santiago, '99 in Phoenix in the USA. For some reasons that I don't fully understand, TMS was no longer a partner in 2003. However, in Santiago, we had the so-called Santiago Agreement that welcomed the GDMB and MMIJ. I really remember that agreement because that was my first participation in the International Organizing Committee, and my first duty was to write the Santiago Agreement. This is a photo of who attended that meeting a few years ago. Copper 2007 happened in Canada, in Toronto. And for that conference, we welcomed TMS and SME as partners with the so-called Toronto Participation Agreement. And the conference, this is the group back in Toronto. And you can see I'm wearing a copper medal, not an Olympic medal, but it's the signification that back in 2007, I became president of the METSOC. A fond memory for me, the conference in Toronto. In 2010, we had, again, the 6 co-organizers, and we had a Hamburg agreement that instated both TMS and SME as full partners, having done such a great job in helping the Toronto conference being a success. This is the group of the IOC committee plus some VIPs and their partners of spouses in the beautiful town hall of Hamburg. So the 6 co-organizers collaborated again in 2013 in Santiago, in 2016 in Kobe. And then for Copper 2019, which I was in charge of, I had invited with my committee and METSOC, the NFSOC of China and the SAIMM of South Africa to be partner in the conference. And to my great joy, the Vancouver Agreement with all partners agreed that from now on, the 8 societies would be co-organizers. And so they are for this conference, Copper 2022. So now I'll go back to my first wish and look at celebration and friendship. And this is a few memories from Copper 2007. And as these photos will show, these celebrations at conferences are bound with smiles and friendship and good time to be had. In 2007, we also honored Carlos Diaz with a luncheon, a family affair, a friend affair, colleagues. And you can see on the lower photo in the left, the legendary smile of Carlos Diaz together with Philippe Maki. In 2007, we also celebrated the so-called fathers of the copper conferences, Philippe Maki, Gustavo Lagos, John Dutrisac, and Carlos Diaz. They were standing proudly with their commemorative medals. As a past chair of the Copper Conference in Vancouver, I could not miss the chance to show you a few of my memories. And one of them was the celebration of the achievements of Philippe Maki with an honorary symposium and a honorary pub night, which was a great fun. Organizing a copper conference is a balancing act. It's balancing the technical program, the social event, and ensuring the budget is met. It's a team effort. And one of my personal memorable moments at Copper 2019 was presenting to the audience my team, the conference organizing committee, which had done such a great job and made the conference a success. Again, this is one of the photos that shows the joy of the participants, the friendship that this conference brings after so many years of seeing each other. I could not miss the chance to show how appreciative I was of Brigitte Farah, the conference manager of METSOC, who had worked with me for 15 years since she had been hired by METSOC back in 2004. And last but not least, one of my moments was the final moment of the awards banquet, where I managed to fulfill a promise to the honorary symposium recipient, Philippe Maki, his wife, Angèle, that Philippe would invite his wife to dance, a first in a copper conference, which I hope will not be the last. So if I come back to my original slide of my legacy, I would like now to present my expectation for Copper 2022. I hope to learn more on copper technologies and processes. I look forward to seeing the collaborative efforts of all co-organizing societies, and I wish to have fun with all my friends in the copper community. Thank you kindly for your attention.
Thank you, Joel. I have to say, I believe we are a big metallurgical and mining family. This is not only a conference, this is a celebration of friendship. Well, now Mr. Gerardo Alvear of TMS, one of the chairmen of the Copper 2025 conference, will now address you. Thank you, Mr. Alvear.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to address the Copper family. As I was introduced, my name is Gerardo Alvear Flores, born in Chile and then raised around the world. I'm currently working for Rio Tinto and also an adjunct professor from the University of Queensland. I want to talk today on some aspects that I think are relevant for the Copper Conference that will come. And these are some thoughts that I put together with two phenomenal friends, Mr. Joe Pease from Minerals in Australia and Mr. Carlos Rizo Patron, also a very well-known Chilean working for the International Copper Study Group. And we were trying to think about the challenges that the copper mining industry is facing ahead, mainly in terms of complexity and how this resolves complexity, the regulatory pressure that we see coming everywhere, the increasing impurity contents in the copper ore are affecting or challenging, put in a more appropriate way, the way that we do business. Also, the challenge with recycling and circular economy that we are facing and the society is asking us to change. how we address the deleterious elements in the production. And we normally talk about the copper conference, but really we are mining more than copper. And this is one of the most important stereotypes that our industry faces, how we take value from all other elements that are coming with the copper as we mine. And also the challenges that we face with energy and water. These days we see what is called in Chile the hidrógeno verde, or I will say the hydrogen economy coming up, and the face of the global problems with the climate change. Also, these challenges are coming from the pyrometallurgy family in the copper industry. These challenges that the mining industry face and how these are addressed on the smelting side, having lower copper concentrate in general coming to the smelter, an increase in gangue materials, an increase in pyrite, an increase in lead and zinc and other deleterious elements that basically have transformed the capacity or installed capacity of our smelters that were designed for a certain capacity, and today they can produce less unit coppers in the same facility. So all these aspects that are in a way put in front of us that make us think in a different way. Now in the smelting industry, and we go back to 1988, 1 year after the starting of this conference, and we compare with 2017, or that was the in-between Vancouver and Kobe conference, we can see a dramatic change in the landscape of the smelting industry. You see on the left, in 1988, the production was, I will say, evenly distributed across the globe in terms of smelting capacity. And this was a reflection at what I call the golden era of the Western innovation from 1970 to 1990, in which several technologies were developed in Canada, in Japan, in Australia, in Chile, and new applications like the direct-to-blister in Poland, or and the flash converter in Kennecott, were addressing the need to transform the copper industry on the smelting side. As we fast track to 2010, 2020, we can see now in 2018 a dramatic change in the landscape in which the center of the smelting has moved to China. And we see China near 40% of the production of copper cathode coming from that country. And we witnessed in 2013 in Santiago I would say, explosion of good news coming from China and how they share with the world the innovation that was driven them to transform their smelting industry. And this is a reality today. We have economies providing copper concentrate to China, where most of the copper cathodes are made. So this is the landscaping that we are now, and this is what we need to take into account when we think about the challenges we have ahead in terms of resources, but also in terms of global well-being of the world, meaning climate change and decarbonization of the economy. So there are basic elements that we are required to foster what I think is an integrated technology development approach. First of all, we need to have a market understanding of what are the drivers behind the metal markets, be aware of the commercial, technical, and environmental limitations. We are in need of a technology roadmap with a clear understanding of the limitations and capabilities of the technologies and processes we do have, and the ability to assess each other in our technological status and what are the collaborations needed. The need to have a comprehensive process knowledge, the capacity to understand the current processes and the fundamentals behind them. And I think in here, China has been a very clever player when you see the development in the smelting industry and how fundamental principles have been applied to enhance recovery and performance. Many companies don't have the ability to have technological support because they have reduced their research and development capabilities. So This is very important if we want to keep competitiveness, how we will address the need for technological support, also an effective network. The silo thinking of trying to be independent will not help us. Also, the need to, when we develop or have proper scale-up processes and manage investment costs to try to be more smart in the way that we use the money from our shareholders. Also, design capabilities to know where to go and what to ask. Finally, I just want to say that the Copper Conference Series is a catalyzer to promote innovation and cross-fertilization. We have been a worldwide recognized platform to share and discuss development in the copper mining and processing field. However, considering the magnitude of the societal challenges the world is facing, a new way to discuss, brainstorm, and promote open innovation is required. The challenge for us as the IOC is how to evolve into a modern, effective, and holistic platform to exchange ideas and promote a green, sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerardo. Great words, right? We have a challenge as a team of the conference committee. We're working hard in introduce the new technology and innovation in this conference too. So right with the words of Gerardo. Well, our final chairman speaking today is from the Copper 2025 conference, Mr. Michael Modes of SME.
Thank you.
Hello, Michael. Welcome.
Thank you. I decided that I would, instead of providing some slides, I would just provide a few words. And so I'm a professor at the Missouri University of Science and Technology. I've had the privilege of serving the copper industry for almost 2 decades, facilitating and coordinating what's called the Copper Refinery Group, which is all the North American copper refineries that meet on a regular basis. And so I've been part of the copper meetings starting back as a short course presenter in 2007. And then I was able to join the International Organizing Committee, I think it was in 2013. First of all, I'd like to thank the Institute for the opportunity to speak. I'm quite excited about Copper 2022, and I look forward to coming to Santiago. I'm helping with the short course in electrometallurgy, looking for the opportunity to share and some of the knowledge I've gained over the years in electro refining and electro winning, and working with Rodrigo Abel and his team on the technical committee in electrometallurgy. As you've heard from Gerardo and Joel, that copper has a long tradition. This meeting's a world-class meeting, and the Chilean Institute is an intimate part of that. And so for that, I thank you. I'm looking forward to hosting SME and TMS hosting the Copper 2025 in the United States. The United States has been blessed with significant copper reserves for many years. We have the entire supply chain in our country. We have the mines, we have smelters, we have electrowinning facilities, we have refineries, we have rod plants, and we have fabrication. And so we're looking forward to hosting this meeting. It'll probably be in the southwestern part of the United States. And so there's a great opportunity for tours when we have our meeting as well to visit various fabrication sites, mines, smelters, and the like. What I think is also as pointed out by Gerardo is that the United States at one time was a great copper recycler. And over the years that has waned. But here recently we've had 2 plants come online, one in North Carolina and one in Ohio, that is starting to recycle copper. And I expect more of that in the future as the ability to recycle copper and send scrap copper around the world is diminishing. So I think copper has a great future. I think our first speaker said that as you look at the sustainability, green energy, it's all going to take lots and lots of copper. And when we produce copper, as Gerardo has pointed out, we need to do whole value mining. Copper is a great source of a lot of what we call critical minerals or critical materials. We get all of the tellurium for copper telluride solar panels pretty much from copper processing. copper processing could be a great source for arsenic, for gallium arsenide, which is needed for semiconductor materials, for Bluetooth devices, antimony, bismuth, selenium. All of these are great opportunities. And I think as we go back and look at historic mining districts and see what tailings are around, I think there's an opportunity for reprocessing. So the copper meetings have been strong. I expect 2022 to be very strong, and I expect these meetings to continue into the future. There's a lot. Copper is a great part of our future as humankind, and as such, I'm happy to be part of these meetings. So thank you for this opportunity to give a short presentation.
Thank you, Michael. And it's so true. We have to be brave because we have a lot of challenges in our industry, right? Okay. Well, traditionally, at the launching ceremonies of the Copper Conference in Chile, we invite a prominent Chilean copper mining professional to make a presentation on a relevant contingent topic. This time, we invite Mr. Juan Carlos Guajardo, director of the consulting firm Plus Mining, to give us his vision on the copper mining contingency. In a presentation, what we name it with the Latin expression Quo Vadis Cuprum, which in English means, where is copper going? Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, all the organizing committee. I'm very happy to deliver this presentation in this important event. Well, the challenge is to give you a view on where copper is heading in only a few minutes. So I will do my best to give you the key elements in this topic. I divided my presentation in three parts, the supply demand in the first two topics and a few summary topics at the end. Let me see. Okay, let's start with the basics. It is obvious that China is the driving force in the consumption of copper in the last years. It is always amazing to check the numbers. China consumed only 2% of copper in 1960, but now it's 54%. It's a massive change. And we can see it in the right side. The copper price in real terms has increased significantly compared with the low copper prices we had in the late 90s and the early 2000s. China is certainly a driving force, but we cannot forget that the copper price is like a rabbit. Copper price can multiply 3-4 times in a matter of months, and certainly that's a challenge to the mining industry. For Chile, copper is part of the essence of the country. This is the market share or the share of Chile in the global production in the last 200 years. We based our numbers in and study from the history department of the Catholic University, which is quite interesting. And you can see that Chile has relied on copper for almost the entire existence. But this slide is also showing us that the natural endowment is not enough. The Chile could explain as low as 5% or 10% of the global market, but Chile could also explain as much as 40% in some periods. So the relevance of copper to Chile is undeniable, but the fluctuations make us to understand that this is not an easy thing to do. Of course, one important question is what we should expect on China. And looking into the history, we can see that that England and the United States, the last two superpowers, had their peaks in terms of intensity of use of copper in the early 19th and early 20th century. And now we are seeing the emergence of China, and we suspect that China will peak in terms of intensity of use probably around these years. This is not unexpected. This is the normal path in the intensity of use of copper. But this is also telling us that in spite that China is going into probably the tertiary stage of their economic development, the consumption of copper in China will continue being massive. That's the historic experience of England and the United States in the last 2 centuries. I know I admitted this is a very complex slide, but let me try to explain what this means. This slide is showing the commodity prices in 5 different industrial revolutions since the original industrial revolution in England in the 18th century. Since then, we have seen 5 big revolutions, technical revolutions: the original industrial revolution and the steam engine, then the steel, railways, and heavy machinery, then electrification, then petrochemistry and automotive, and then the current revolution based on information, digitalization, artificial intelligence, robotics, green energy, and decarbonization. So what conclusion can we take from this slide? First of all, that we have these revolutions last roughly 5 to 6 decades. And each revolution has an increasing and decreasing period. The first part usually has an increase in commodity prices, while the second part, a decreasing trend in commodity prices. So the good news is that the existing revolution is still in the upward trend. So we still have room to be relatively confident in the future of commodity prices. Of course, what's behind this optimistic view? The decarbonization is not longer a wish; is a must for the world. And based on one of the most comprehensive international studies, the World Bank and International Energy Agency, if the world wants to give a 2 degrees increase allowance, that would mean an additional 25 to 30 million tons of copper in the next 30 years. That's basically the double of the amount of copper that the world consumes right now. So this is a great base for optimism. But we cannot forget that the copper markets are a two-way highway. Of course, we have a lot of elements to be optimistic. The decarbonization and green energies, as I have already explained, but also the constraints on the supply side, as I will show you in the next slides. But the China is, as I show you, moving into the service intensity stage. So China will continue consuming a lot of copper, but not at the same intensity. The world is accumulating a lot of debt. That's posing important financial threats for the future. I will show you some slides about that. Who will replace China? It is not clear whether India or other countries could replace China in the same way that China has consumed copper in the last decades. And the circular economy is also increasing the recycling, the importance of recycling of copper. So I don't want to discourage you on the optimistic view for copper. That's not my intention, but I think it's fair to offer you all the elements to weigh and to get a good conclusion. Talking about these elements, I'm going to pass very quickly here. On the left side, you have a graph that basically says that the debt accumulated in some key economies, particularly the United States, is much larger than GDP growth in the last year. So that's certainly a very challenging situation, and we think that could have some consequences sooner or later. On the right side, you have an undeniable, let's say, reallocation of power in the world. And this period of transitions are usually posing a dramatic risk to the world. So we need to wait and see for that. As I said, the sustainability is a very positive driver for copper market, but also a push for the recycling and circularity. And on the other side, substitution has not been a big element for copper in the last decades, fortunately, but the threat is there. We cannot forget, and the message to the industry is that the substitution must be addressed by mining companies to ensure a sustainable consumption of copper in the long term. So in the supply side, I already anticipated some elements. The super cycle period posed dramatic challenges to the industry. It could be a little bit surprising, but when the booming period came, the industry perhaps was not well prepared for that. And the consequences are still with us. And of course, the lessons as well. The industry learned during this period of big stress on the industry to respond to the higher demand coming from particularly China. And we have a set of challenges on the supply side. These are 8 challenges that we think are very important to take into consideration. The aging of mines and grade attrition, productive matter exchange. This is particularly true for Chile and Peru, more concentrates and less cathodes, critical input supplies, project delivery, complementary infrastructure, more challenges to deliver copper to the international markets, climate change effects and decarbonization, ESG standards and transparency, and social license to operate. These are just a set of topics that we believe are of high importance. The decline in the head grade is evident over the last 40, 50 years. That's a basic information. From a geological point of view, we are still okay in terms of in the balance of production and reserves. However, there is evidence of reduced success in exploration in the last years. It is not as easy as before to get or to have discoveries. And therefore, that's an underlying limit to the increase of supply, not now, not in the next 5 years, but perhaps in the next decade. CapEx overrun, we have unfortunately bad experiences in the last years. That's another challenge to the industry. I think this is one of the lessons learned, but the evidence, the historical evidence in the last years show us very, very important overruns that certainly affect the trust in the delivery of the industry. So, but there is a new generation of challenges I think it's important to mention. The role of the state and resource nationalism is rising. At least we are seeing in our neighborhood an important increase in this kind of elements. Environmentalism is also on the rise. Regionalism understood as the pressure from the regions where mines are to get more from or more connection to the operations. A debate on the development model, what kind of model the countries should follow based on mining or not. This is a highly political topic, and I think this discussion is coming and growing. And indigenous people's right. That's another trend that we can see. So this set of challenges are growing, are putting pressure, and the industry must be prepared to deal with this. So wrapping up, some final comments. There are international and global trends that we need to take into account, and better life quality, environment protection, domestic political pressures, geopolitical and critical strategic minerals, and technological revolutions, particularly in the internet and artificial intelligence part. So what the industry should do to respond, these are just some ideas. Promote or to develop more efficiency and process optimization, accelerate search for breakthroughs, technological breakthroughs to cope with these rising challenges, engagement with local communities, more engagement with local communities, and ESG adoption and circular economy, part of the mining management. Another point that we are seeing as a growing trend and part of the good response of the industry is to work together, more collaboration. We have some examples. International standards, for example, are pushing the industry to have more collaborative work, but also the Greenhouse Gas Alliance for Zero Emissions in Machineries and Transportation Equipment. These are emerging trends where the industry is leaving behind the pure competition and started to work together in certain initiatives. And finally, this is a contribution of President of the Institute. Thank you very much, Juan. I think the thinking longer term is more and more important. This information provided by Juan show us that the life of mine is essentially much longer term than probably everybody expect. And therefore, taking into account the large number of challenges that I described, thinking in a longer term in every mine and every mining company should be a good idea to try to cope with these challenges. Well, thank you very much. I hope I addressed the challenge today.
Well, we addressed the challenge, right? We have a lot of challenge and risk too. Well, thank you, Juan Carlos, for those very interesting words. We learned a lot. Thank you. Okay, dear colleagues, with this last presentation by Juan Carlos, we end this Copper 2022 launching ceremony. Thanks for joining us, and we invite you to follow the news about this important international mining event on our website, www.copper2022.cl, and on our session network. We look forward to seeing you in Santiago in November 2022 for the kickoff of this conference here in Casa Piedra. Good evening.